G'day guys and gal. GW did a pretty good job of making each and every Primarch unique and interesting. Their style, abilities, strengths, weaknesses, and even their weapon of choice varies from Primarch to Primarch. However, some have definitely gotten more love than others. If Ferris didn't have iron hands, then I probably wouldn't even remember his name. One Primarch that flies under the radar yet is actually really awesome is Jaghatai Khan, Primarch of the White Scars. While some people just call him a space Mongolian with a hard-on for jet bikes, he's a lot more than that. He is extremely reasonable and witty, making very clear decisions based on effective, sensible thought processes. He also delivers the greatest burns out of all the Primarchs by far. As such, some of the best one-liners in all of 40k come from Jaghatai. Before we get started, using protection is incredibly important, whether it be when you're fighting on the front lines of Ukraine, spending the night with a bush pig, or browsing the internet. For the internet, which is the most dangerous of the three, a VPN is a must-have, as not only does it mask your identity when you want to break through government firewalls, or just, look up seedy stuff, but it also allows you to bypass shitty licensing deals, meaning you can expand your Netflix library or access previously restricted websites. No VPN does this better than Surfshark VPN, who decided to renew my contract for reasons I just can't fathom. You guys must really enjoy searching up that forbidden fruit. The best part is that using my link in code Majorkill below, they are offering a massive 83% off and 3 months free. And if that value wasn't already enough to seal the deal, then Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. You literally can't lose by giving it a go. Cheers to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Today we'll go over the highlights of the legendary Jaghatai Khan, showing off why he's actually a boss-ass Primarch. I'll also talk about why people don't seem to rate him that highly, despite his quality. Let's get into it. First things first, why isn't Jaghatai very popular? Why are some people always surprised when they find out he's actually a fucking legend? Well, it comes down to the fundamental problem of the White Scars not being that popular, and by extension, Jaghatai suffers. After all, if you paint Blood Angels and get invested in your army and colour scheme, Sanguinius will probably end up being your favourite Primarch. The White Scars, however, are white. Well, not completely, but their armour is, and painting white armour is a bitch if you don't know the special techniques to make it look good. As such, new players don't want to touch that shit, so they go for paint schemes that don't make you want to crush your own balls with a hammer, because the White Scar white you bought from GW was already completely fucked and unusable before you had even opened it for the first time. Another reason could just be the general lack of interest in ancient Mongolia by Western audiences. Ancient Rome and Greece are dope, as are medieval-inspired legions, so it's no wonder that the Dark Angels, Ultramarines, and Blood Angels are up there. So my hypothesis is difficult to paint models combined with knights being cooler than Mongolians has led to a lack of White Scar players, which in turn results in a lack of interest for Jaghatai. But here's why Jaghatai is actually a fucking beast. Even before he crash landed on his world of Chogoris and discovered the speed, he was special, even more so than his brothers. See, the worlds each Primarch landed on wasn't random, it was tailored towards them. Whilst Jaghatai's planet seemed perfect for him, after all it was very Mongolian, it was not the planet he was supposed to arrive at. The Eldar laughing god, Gorach, swapped Jaghatai and Fulgrim's home planet so that Jaghatai would remain loyalist and Fulgrim would be the one to fall to chaos. Originally, Fulgrim was supposed to remain loyal, which is why the Emperor gave him so many honours, and was genuinely surprised when he became a traitor. After all, you don't call the Legion that will end up being a bunch of drug-addicted super rapists the Emperor's children if you know how things are going to turn out. On the flip side of that, the Emperor was deeply sus of Jaghatai and was surprised that he turned out to be such a steadfast loyalist. Why would Gorach do this? Well, he doesn't really need a reason, he's a literal fucking clown god of memes. However, Jaghatai was last seen chasing Dark Elder into the Webway. Gorach lives in the Webway. It's highly likely that Gorach is the one who currently holds Jaghatai and is using him to further his own cause. On top of that, the Emperor's children have not been a very effective traitor legion, and didn't do much to further the traitor's cause during the Horus Heresy. For example, Fulgrim tried to kill Perturabo, who was the traitor's MVP, and the Emperor's children got bored of the Siege of Terra and just started terrorizing civilians. On the flip side, Jaghatai was able to counter and even banish Mortarion, who was the traitor's other MVP, whilst these White Scars fought hard to protect the Imperium. So perhaps a traitor White Scar Legion versus a loyalist Emperor's Children Legion could have resulted in the heresy going worse for the Imperium, maybe even a chaos victory. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. When Jaghatai crash landed on his world, he wasn't horny for glory and recognition. recognition. He was content with his tribe and only acted when his adoptive father was murdered by a rival tribe. Jaghatai entered rage mode, which he does sometimes, fair enough, and he massacred the rival tribe, killing not just the men, but the women and children as well. Instead of then becoming Darth Vader, Jaghatai had a quick breather and decided that tribes massacring each other was stupid, so he conquered each tribe and united them into a mighty force. On the other side of the planet there was the Palatine, a more advanced, less Mongolian society that was threatened by the rising Mongol menace. The Palatine is most likely what Fulgrim would have been adopted into if he had landed on Chagoris as intended. Now once again, Jaghatai didn't have ambitions to conquer the world and make the Palatine his bitch, but when they attacked him and he killed them, it was on. After a couple years, Jaghatai had beaten them in their entirety and was now the Khan of Khans, Lord of Chagoris. Then the Big E arrived and was like, you have two options. Either join my crusade and conquer the galaxy for mankind or, Control-Alt-Delete. Now you might think that Jaghatai would have jumped at the chance to sail the stars and conquer distant worlds. However, he saw the Emperor as a tyrant, and he wasn't too happy that he would go from the Khan of Khans to a living weapon wielded by another. But he did agree with the Emperor on a number of points, and he also knew that to refuse was to die, so there was really no point in doing that. So Jaghatai had the most sensible approach to the Emperor out of all the Primarchs. He graciously accepted his offer and negotiated a deal so that Chagoris would maintain its culture and not just get turned into a polluted wasteland that was stripped of all its natural resources. When you compare this to Fulgrim and Perturabo crying and groveling before the Emperor, or Lorgar holding a massive religious holiday, it really frames how sensible the Khan is. He knew no wasn't an answer, so he got the best version of yes that he possibly could. From there, the Khan didn't have it easy. Most legions were intact and united when they found their Primarch. As such, normally a Primarch just had to do like a 2-week boat license course and bam, their legion was theirs. The White Scars, on the other hand, acted as scouts and vanguard forces. Hence 50,000 sons of Jaghatai were scattered around the galaxy in small groups. Jaghatai had to recall his legion, which was not even remotely united, and then integrate them all within the culture of Chagoris to make them brothers. This took about a decade of waiting and working. By the end of it, the White Scars had been born anew and were ready to absolutely send it. So that's Jaghatai's badass origins. Instead of now just retelling his lore like a wiki page, I'm going to go through his various highlights so that by the end of this video, you appreciate him just as much as I do, and actually see him as arguably the most human and relatable out of all the Primarchs. As a part of joining the Crusade, each Primarch is given a special big-ass spaceship by the Mechanicum, made on Mars itself. When Jaghatai was inspecting his nearly complete flagship that the tech priest he was with was complimenting and talking about how special it was, Jaghatai turns to the Marzi boy and he is like, "This is fucking dog shit. You will rebuild it from scratch with the specifications and modifications I give you. I want the speed." It was a fun moment as Mars was expecting Jaghatai to suck their robo-cocks for the ship, but instead they had to remake it. Jaghatai is a legendary swordsmaster, arguably one of the best Primarch duelists. One of his Primarch powers is the inability to ever feel fatigue or tiredness. The only time he does is when there is warp fuckery affecting him. He can also access the Speed Force and go Super Saiyan in times of rage. For example, when some orcs killed a few White Scar sons of his, he went Rage Death Whirlwind mode and literally turned into a blender. He literally did the fucking Blade Master ultimate ability from Warcraft 3. He was killing the orcs so ruthlessly and quickly that they actually started to shit themselves. This is a pretty big deal, as orcs rarely ever retreat or lose morale. They don't fear death. In melee combat, this is even more pronounced. But you bet your ass those orcs shat the bed and tried to run, only to become a plate of fungal sashimi soon after. Despite his prowess, Jaghatai would never brag or exaggerate his exploits. His legion's tactics were efficient and effective. However, due to their culture, many saw them as savages, putting them in the same undisciplined category as the Space Wolves or even the World Eaters. Jaghatai was happy to let them believe this, but it did hurt his feelings because of how many brothers looked down on him as lesser. A positive result of this is that we were presented with the slickest burn, or burns because there was more than one, that Warhammer has ever given us. After the triumph of Ulanor, where Horus was chosen as War Master, Fulgrim decides to have a go at Jaghatai, making subtle insults to his culture and goals before saying, "I heard you do strange things to your ships." To which Jaghatai replied, "I heard you do strange things to your warriors." Get wrecked, Fulgrim. Now he was obviously talking about the rumors that Fulgrim had allowed Fabius to experiment with augmenting some of the Emperor's children, but it's still funny to imagine he meant that Fulgrim was incest sodomizing his sons. Fulgrim got pretty pissed, but he gets better. Sanguinius wonders out loud who would win in a duel, and Fulgrim insults the Khan again. The Khan then tears Fulgrim a new asshole, calling him arrogant and boastful, before declaring he would easily beat Fulgrim. Fulgrim is about to rage and almost draws his sword, before Sanguinius calms things down as he usually does. When the heresy broke out, Jaghatai was in a bit of a weird spot. He hadn't directly seen betrayal or who was in the wrong. He also received a shitload of conflicting astropathic messages, so he decided he would uncover what was going on before choosing a side. He went to Prospero to speak with a Shard of Magnus, he encountered and fought Mortarion, who tried to convince Jaghatai to join the traitors, and he even put down a rebellion within his own legion between the traitors and the loyalists. After he had found out what was actually happening and how Chaos was involved, he was like, "Father isn't perfect. He can be a hypocritical asshole tyrant that uses and abuses those that serve him. But you guys are literally the commanders of the forces of hell. Your victory is mass death and suffering for eternity. An asshole dad is nothing compared to the malice of Chaos." As such, Jaghatai made the relatively easy decision to reject Chaos and fight for the Imperium. It doesn't really seem like much, but if all the other Primarchs had stopped to follow a similar chain of critical thinking, then maybe the apocalypse wouldn't have occurred. During the Siege of Terra, Jaghatai's humanity shone through. When the traitors were attacking and civilians were getting slaughtered, Jaghatai couldn't stand by and he wanted to leave the palace to save some of them. Dawn was like, "Fuck no dude, come on." But Jaghatai asked Sanguinius if he would save lives. Sanguinius told him he would save many. Armed with that knowledge, the Khan went forth. Once again, this was a pretty reasonable decision. He knew that what he would do would save innocents. If Sanguinius had been like, "No, it's a trap, you'll die," the Khan would have been like, "Alright, no worries, I'll stay here." Later down the track, to help save the palace, the Khan engaged the significantly more powerful Mortarion in combat. Now Morty is a bit of a counter for the Khan. Whilst Khan lands more blows, Morty is too tanky, and his aura slowly drains those around him. So Khan was getting exhausted and clobbered. Despite this, he was still able to tell Morty that Sanguinius had nicer wings than him, so it's good to see the burn factor never left. The amount of roasts in this one duel was on another level. When Morty landed a killing blow, Jaghatai slipped past his guard and made it a 2-for-1 deal. Morty is banished and Jaghatai dies. But like, he'll be fine. He was sent off to Malkador to get a recovery massage. Whether it be his desire for freedom, his strong moral code, his sensible common sense way of thinking, his wicked skills with a blade, or his unbelievable wit when it comes to roasting kids, Jaghatai is a legendary Primarch, one of the best, and it's important that he gets recognized as such. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be. We're only $1 per month to give you access to a boatload of beautiful art that isn't sexual, it's just art. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more Mongolian content. Join the Discord for more memes and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.